There is a version of you that exists only in the realm of potential, a version that is stronger, more disciplined, more creative, and more at peace than the person you are today. This potential is not a distant fantasy, it is your birthright, it is the vast, open ocean of what you are capable of becoming. And yet, most of us never learn to navigate that ocean. Instead, we find ourselves caught in a small, powerful whirlpool, spinning in the same circle, day after day. You feel it, don't you? The feeling of running hard, but never moving forward. The same anxieties that visit you at 3 a.m., the same frustrations that arise in your work or your relationships. The same internal script of self-doubt that plays just before you are about to take a risk. You promise yourself that tomorrow will be different. You will wake up earlier, you will not procrastinate, you will be more patient, you will start that project. But when tomorrow comes, the whirlpool pulls you back in, and you live the same day all over again. This is not a lack of willpower, it is not a flaw in your character. You have been caught in something subtle, powerful, and nearly invisible. You have been trapped in a destructive mental loop, and today, we are going to learn how to find the switch to turn it off. A mental loop is a self-perpetuating cycle of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that runs on autopilot. It is a program installed in your subconscious that, once triggered, runs its course without your conscious permission. It is an invisible prison because the bars are made of your own thoughts. The first step to escaping any prison is to realize you are in one. You must learn to see the bars. These loops take many forms, but for most of us, they fall into one of 3 powerful patterns. As I describe them, your only task is to listen and to see which one feels most familiar to you. The first is the procrastination guilt loop. It begins with a task you know is important, a task that, if completed, would move you closer to the person you want to become. But the task is difficult, or you fear you won't do it well. So, to avoid that discomfort, you turn to a distraction. You check your phone, watch a video, do a less important task. For a moment, you feel relief. But then, as the deadline approaches, a new feeling arises, anxiety. The anxiety turns into guilt and shame. Why haven't I started yet? I'm so lazy. I always do this. This feeling of guilt is painful. And how does the brain respond to pain? It seeks pleasure and avoids discomfort. So, you seek another hit of distraction to numb the guilt. The whirlpool pulls you deeper, and the task remains undone, now heavier with the added weight of your self-judgment. The second is the self-criticism fear loop. This loop guards the borders of your comfort zone. It begins with an spark of ambition, the desire to ask for a promotion, to start your own business, to speak to someone you find interesting. But the moment the idea forms, a second voice appears, the inner critic. It instantly populates your mind with a detailed inventory of all your past failures and future risks. You're not smart enough for that. You'll probably fail. People will laugh at you. These thoughts trigger the feeling of fear and inadequacy. This feeling is deeply uncomfortable. So, to make it stop, you do the logical thing. You abandon the ambitious idea. You retreat back to what is safe and familiar. And the moment you do, the inner critic whispers, "See, I told you. You didn't have what it takes." The loop is now stronger, ready for the next time you dare to dream. The third, and perhaps most subtle, is the perfectionism in action loop. This loop disguises itself as a high standard, but it is simply fear wearing a tuxedo. It starts with a great idea, a project you are genuinely excited about. You begin to plan, but you tell yourself, "Before I can start, every detail must be perfect. The plan must be flawless. I need to do more research. Take one more course, wait for the perfect time." But the perfect plan is a mirage, it can never be reached. And so, because the conditions are never perfect, the action is never taken. The great project never begins. All that is left is the frustration of unfulfilled potential, which reinforces the core belief of the loop. I can only begin when I know it will be perfect. The procrastination guilt loop, the self-criticism fear loop, the perfectionism inaction loop. Do you recognize the architecture of your prison? Naming your loop is the first act of liberation. It is the moment you stop seeing the pattern as who you are and start seeing it for what it is, a program, a ghost in the machine. And the reason this program feels so powerful, so inescapable, is because it is not just in your mind, it has carved a physical path inside your brain. Understanding this mechanism is the first step to reclaiming your power. You are not weak because you are stuck. You are stuck because you are wired. And we will now discover how that wiring works, because the person who understands the design of the prison is the one who can find the key to the cell door. You have likely asked yourself this question 1,000 times. Why can't I just stop? Why? You know, logically, that the loop is harming you. You can see, from the outside, that your behavior is irrational. Yet, in the moment, you feel powerless to resist its pull. This feeling of powerlessness is not because you are weak. It is because you are fighting against the physical structure of your own brain. Imagine your brain is not a computer, but a vast, dense jungle. Every thought you have is a journey from one point in that jungle to another. The very first time you have a thought, the first time you think, "I'll do this later," or "I'm not good enough," it's like hacking your way through the thick undergrowth with a machete. It's difficult, it requires effort and energy. But what happens if you take that same path the next day? It's slightly easier. Some of the branches are already broken. The third day, a faint trail begins to form. After 100 days, you no longer need the machete. A clear dirt path has emerged. After 1,000 days, that path is no longer a trail. It is a deep, wide, paved superhighway. The jungle is still there, full of infinite possible routes. But your brain, in its relentless quest for efficiency, will always guide you toward the effortless speed of the highway. Your destructive loop is a neural superhighway. This isn't just a metaphor, this is the biological reality of how your brain works, and it is governed by a fundamental law of neuroscience. In 1949, a Canadian neuropsychologist named Donald Hebb postulated a theory that has become the foundation of our understanding of learning and memory. It is now known as Hebb's law, and its core principle is elegantly simple. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Let me explain what this means. Your brain is a network of around 86 billion neurons connected by junctions called synapses. Every single thought, feeling, or action is a specific pattern of neurons firing in a specific sequence. When you think, "I'm not good enough," a chain of neurons, let's call them chain A, fires. This triggers the feeling of fear, which is another chain of neurons firing. This feeling makes you retreat, which is another neural signal. Fear, because you have thought this thought so many times. The synaptic connections between the neurons in that chain have become incredibly strong and efficient. The brain reinforces these heavily used pathways by wrapping them in a fatty sheath called myelin. Myelin acts like insulation on an electrical wire. It prevents the signal from leaking out and allows it to travel up to 100 times faster. Your destructive loop is not just a fleeting thought. It is a physical, myelinated, high-speed superhighway in your brain. The reason it feels automatic and inescapable is because it is. Your brain is not judging the content of the highway. It is not labeling it good or bad. It is simply doing its job, making the most frequently traveled paths as fast and energy efficient as possible. This must be understood. Your struggle with your destructive loop is not a moral failing. It is a testament to your brain's incredible capacity for adaptation and efficiency. You have, unconsciously, become an Olympic-level expert at practicing a negative thought pattern. You have trained your brain for this loop, and your brain has responded perfectly by building a flawless superhighway for it. When you understand this, the shame and guilt can fall away. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are simply a master of a skill that no longer serves you. And this is where the real power lies. Because the law that built the prison is also the law that can tear it down. The unspoken corollary to Hebb's law is that neurons that don't fire together no longer wire together. Old superhighways that are no longer used will, over time, become overgrown and less accessible. And, most importantly, if you can consciously and deliberately begin to hack a new path through the jungle, if you can choose to think a new thought, take a new action, your brain will begin to pave that path too. This is the power of neuroplasticity. You are not a victim of your wiring, you are the electrician. But to cut the power to the old circuit and redirect it to a new one, you first need a tool. You need a switch that can interrupt the automatic flow of energy down that old, destructive highway. The destructive loop feels so powerful because it is automatic, it is a trance, you enter it without realizing. And by the time you are aware of it, you are already deep in the whirlpool. The first act of mastery is to shorten the time between falling into the trance and waking up from it. The switch we are about to build is your alarm clock. In the fields of psychology and human performance, this tool has a name. It is the single most effective technique for breaking a habitual state of mind. It is called a pattern interrupt. This concept, heavily used in disciplines like neuro-linguistic programming and cognitive behavioral therapy, is based on a simple premise. The human brain cannot hold two contradictory patterns of thought or behavior at the exact same time. A loop is a consistent, predictable pattern. By introducing a sudden, unexpected, and powerful break in that pattern, you create a momentary system crash. The trance shatters, the automatic program stalls, and in that brief window of stunned silence, you are given something you did not have a moment before, a choice. A pattern interrupt is a log thrown across that well-worn path in the jungle. It is the record scratch in the middle of a familiar, sad song. Its only job is to break the automaticity, to force you to stop, look up, and remember that you have the power to choose a new direction. I will give you two powerful switches you can build today, one for the body and one for the mind. The first is the physical interrupt. The master's stance. Your destructive mental loop has a corresponding physical signature. When you are in the procrastination loop, your body is likely slouched. In the self-criticism loop, your shoulders may be rounded, your gaze turned downward. Your body and mind are in perfect, destructive harmony. We will break that harmony. The moment you recognize the loop, your first action is physical. Stop everything. Plant your feet firmly on the floor, shoulder width apart. Feel the ground beneath you. Now, pull your shoulders back and down, opening your chest. Lift your chin, as if you are looking out at a vast horizon. Now, take one single, deep, powerful breath. Inhale through your nose until your lungs are completely full, and then hold it for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, exhale slowly, completely, through your mouth. What you have just done is sent a shockwave of contradictory information to your brain. The mind cannot easily maintain a thought pattern of victimhood when the body is locked in a physiological state of command and presence. The deep breath resets your nervous system, and the powerful posture signals to your amygdala that you are not a victim in hiding, you are a master on watch. This is your first switch. The second is the mental interrupt. The ancestors' question. The inner critic thrives on small, short-term thinking. It obsesses over the immediate risk, the potential for embarrassment. To break its power, you must pull its focus out to a time scale it cannot comprehend. The moment you catch the loop, I want you to ask yourself one profound question. We will call it the ancestors' question. Will this thought, this feeling, or this behavior build a legacy I would be proud to leave for the next 7 generations? This question is a cognitive depth charge. It is so vast, so outside the petty jurisdiction of your inner critic, that it forces an immediate system reboot. It yanks your brain out of the panicked-in, self-absorbed chatter of the amygdala and engages the vast strategic thinking of the prefrontal cortex. The fear of sending one email or working for 15 minutes seems utterly absurd when measured against the scale of a multi-generational legacy. The question isn't, is this scary? The question becomes, is this worthy? These are your switches. The master's stance to reset the body, and the ancestor's question to reframe the mind. But the interrupt is only the beginning. It is the moment the prison door swings open. You are standing at the threshold, momentarily free. The true work, the work that turns this momentary freedom into lasting change, lies in what you do next. It lies in consciously, deliberately, choosing to start carving a new path. It is not enough to simply stop the old loop. You must give the energy of your mind a new, more powerful place to go. Remember Hebb's law, neurons that fire together, wire together. Interrupting the old pattern stops the neurons from firing together. But to build a new one, you must consciously fire a new sequence of neurons, again and again, until that becomes the new default. You are not just breaking a bad habit, you are installing a new program, and the installation process is a biological one. Deep within your brain, there is a set of structures called the basal ganglia. Think of it as the brain's operations manager, or the seat of its autopilot system. The basal ganglia's primary job is to observe the actions that your conscious mind, your prefrontal cortex or CEO, repeatedly performs. When it detects a consistent pattern, it takes over the process to conserve the CEO's precious mental energy. It converts conscious effort into an unconscious habit. Your destructive loop is a program run by this system. But here is the key. The basal ganglia cannot tell the difference between a good program and a bad one. It only follows repeated instructions. Therefore, when you use a pattern interrupt and then consciously choose a new, productive action, you are giving your operations manager a new work order. The first time, The CEO has to force it through. But as you repeat this new sequence, interrupt the old, start the new, the basal ganglia learns. It begins to automate the new pattern, building a new loop that serves you. This is the neuroscience of intentional change. To do this effectively, we can use a simple, 3-step framework for installing the new program. First is the cue. Your cue to act is the moment you notice the old loop beginning. That feeling of dread, that voice of the inner critic that is no longer a signal of failure. It is now your bell of awakening. It is your trigger to run the new program. Second is the new routine. Immediately after you use your interrupt, you must execute a new, predefined routine. This routine must be incredibly small and simple. If your loop is procrastination, your new routine is not finish the entire project. It is open the document and write one sentence. If your loop is self-criticism, your new routine is not convince yourself you are perfect. It is state one small, objective past success out loud. The goal is not to solve the entire problem, but to take one single step down a new path. Third, and most importantly, is the reward. After you complete the tiny new routine, you must give yourself an immediate reward. This is not a material reward. It is a moment of conscious acknowledgement. Close your eyes and feel the quiet pride of having followed through. Say the word good to yourself. Internally, clench your fist in a small gesture of victory. This act creates a small release of dopamine, which signals to your basal ganglia, hey, pay attention. That new thing we just did? It was good. Let's remember that for next time. This is what cements the new habit loop. We began this journey as a prisoner in a cell with invisible bars, walking in circles in a whirlpool of our own making. We learned that the bars were not a sign of our weakness, but the result of our brain's strength, its incredible ability to turn repeated thoughts into physical superhighways. We discovered the switches, the pattern interrupts, that could shatter the trance and give us a precious moment of choice. And now, we see the final step, to become the architect. To use that moment of choice not just to escape the old path, but to begin paving a new one, neuron by neuron, choice by choice. So, the next time you feel it, that familiar pull of the old loop, that whisper of the inner critic, that siren song of procrastination, I want you to smile, because it is no longer a sign that you are broken. It is a signal that your practice has begun. It is the bell of awakening, calling you to exercise your power. You are the electrician who can rewire the circuits. You are the master of the jungle, choosing which path to pave. You are the architect of your inner world. The question is no longer if you will fall into the old path. The question is, what new and magnificent highway to your potential will you choose to pave, with one small step, today? Gratitude.